You're listening to the Keeping Your Money Show with Jamie Westenbarger.
Knowledge is absolutely power. When you look at retirement, you have to look at all facets.
And Bart Steinler.
There's a lot of people that we never talk to that there's just nothing there for retirement. And I don't know what they think they're going to do.
And now, here are your hosts, Jamie Westenbarger and Bart Steinler.
All right, welcome back to the Keep Your Money Show. Jamie Westenbarger, joined as always by Bart Steinler. If you're just tuning in, we were questioning why so many insurance industry groups are so adamant against insurance agents having some more regulation. And I think next week we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of financial advice. And I will just preface that right now by saying, you have to do your homework. You have to understand that for whatever reason, when our industry was created, a little background to the listener, right? You used to have stockbrokers, you used to have life insurance agents, and there really wasn't anything in between. And then this idea kind of started fostering in the late 80s, early 90s that people wanted quote-unquote advice. They didn't want to be sold, right? So at the time, there really weren't financial advisors. It wasn't a thing. So you basically either had life insurance agents becoming them or stockbrokers becoming them. Well, both of those people are salespeople. So you had this culture of sales that has run in this industry for decades. And it's taken the next generation of advisors to come in and say, well, that's not how we're going to run our business. You know, I tell people all the time, when I first started in this industry, it was not at all what I thought it was. I was blown away to sit in a conference room on a Monday morning and hear about what inventory the broker had that we needed to sell, or what contest was being run that week.
I know it drove me crazy that you would be sitting in meetings on a weekly basis and they would be talking about, if you reach this volume of production, you'll be included in the trip to Hawaii or the trip to Cancun and stuff like that. I mean, this is people's future we're talking about. You know, a trip to Cancun should not enter into it.
So you end up with this really convoluted industry where there's all these different licensings and alphabet soup after people's names that, you know, the average person is like, well, what does this even mean? You know, I don't even know what I'm talking to. You know, they're trying to figure out if they should be putting an extra $100 away for retirement. And you have 19 different types of people out there that, you know, depending on which door they walk through, they might either succeed or fail, you know, which is, it's kind of scary, you know.
I'm surprised they haven't come up with a designation that's like certified trip winner to Cancun.
We should create one called legitimate financial advisor.
Yeah.
Like you have been legitimized. We have gone through the process to make sure this person actually is going to work in your best interest. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about trust. So I should preface this for my friends that work in our compliance department. We are not attorneys. This is not legal advice in any way, shape, or form. Please do not make any decisions based on this 7-minute conversation about whether you should do something. Seek out your own legal advice. If you need an attorney, we have a fantastic one that works right here in our office, Ross Kylan with Kylan Law and his associates. But I thought this was interesting because I think a lot of times when we think of the concept of a trust, we think that somebody must be wealthy to have a trust.
Correct.
And we hear that a lot. People come in and they say, well, I have a will. And I'll say, oh, well, have you ever looked at, oh, no, well, I don't have that much money, but money can be a reason to get a trust, but not having money or enough, quote unquote, enough money isn't necessarily a reason not to. There's a lot of other good things that a trust can provide for you when it comes to your estate planning.
And I think one of the things that drove that is that it used to be that there was a very large estate tax, and there was a relatively small amount of your estate that was exempt from getting that. Mm-hmm. I believe it was $1 million. So if you owned a business, if you owned some real estate, it was very, and then your lifelong savings, it was very possible that, you were over $1 million when you passed away, and then there was a 40 or 50% tax on anything you had over $1 million.
Right.
So the solution to that was to get a trust and to move some of those assets into the trust so that you would escape that estate tax. Estate tax has changed significantly, and now it's more like $11 million per person, and for a couple it'd be like $22 million or somewhere in that neighborhood. So that
for this year, and then It'll change again.
That kind of eliminated the need for a lot of the trusts, but there's a lot of other reasons that you would get one.
And I think a couple of the reasons that we can highlight. The first one is probate. You know, if you get a trust, you avoid probate for the most part. Probate's a mess. Can be a mess. All of your finances are open to the public. They're open to an open forum. People can come in and, you know, argue that, you know, you told them they could have your boat when you died or whatever. And a trust works more like a company. You know, you're the owner of the company while you're alive, and when you pass away, you determine who's the owner of the company after you're no longer around. But the assets all still stay in the quote-unquote company. So for someone, even with minor assets, if they prefer things to be privately handled, it can be a lot better. And if there's things like property and stuff like that, it can pass a lot easier than having to go through a probate process. And you don't have to spend a lot of money to get this type of stuff done. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, there are people out there, there are attorneys out there charging exorbitant amounts of money to do trusts. It should not cost you $10,000 to do a trust.
Absolutely not.
If you're being quoted that, put it in reverse, sit down and reevaluate. These do not have to be complex and super expensive.
If you get quoted $10,000, you need to call 1-888-98-MONEY and ask us to introduce you to somebody that can meet your needs at a reasonable price.
Yeah, because I mean, we've seen some of these come in and they're cookie cutter binders. Everybody has the same thing in them, and they're being sold as this, you know, amazing, life-changing kind of product for your estate, but they're not necessarily that at all.
So one of the other reasons that you may want to consider a trust is you may have children that are not really responsible, and you don't want them to get a large chunk of money all at once. Or your children may be special needs, or you may have a niece or a nephew that has special needs, or they may be too young to be able to handle the money.
And you know, I would argue, even if you think your kids are financially responsible, you know, unless they're in their 30s or 40s, you probably still want to kind of control the disbursement of your assets. I mean, you know, I think a lot of times people think of their assets of like, oh, well, we have $500,000 in our retirement accounts, which is a good amount of money.
Yeah.
But many people also have life insurance. You have everything in your home is going to be sold. Your home's going to be sold. Like, so even what I would consider just a middle-class American can easily end up leaving $1 million plus to their beneficiaries. Well, if you've got a 22-year-old kid who might be the most responsible kid in the world right now, and all of a sudden he gets handed a check for $1 million, that can actually ruin him being a responsible kid. You know, I think of myself at 22, and if somebody handed me $1 million, I definitely would have spent that poorly. I would have not made good decisions with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's just something that comes with time and maturity and knowing how to handle something like that. It's much better in most cases that person gets that a bit of a time over a period of time.
And I think also a lot of times people think about trust like they have to find the trustee. You know, there are professional trustees. We work with a company that will operate as your trustee. They'll do exactly what you tell them to in the trust. If you say Junior doesn't get the money till he's 30, Junior doesn't get the money till he's 30.
Right.
You know, if you want it dispersed annually over a 10-year period of time, they can do that as well. So there are ways to handle that without having to choose like a family member or something. I think a lot of times people think, oh, well, my brother's kind of an idiot. I don't really want him to be the trustee. Well, he doesn't have to be.
Right. And that you hit on a really important point there. If you don't have the right person in your family to be the trustee, then go outside and
don't try and
force
that.
Don't try and force that issue. Don't pick the person just because they're the oldest child. Don't pick somebody who doesn't have experience handling financial matters. Don't pick someone who's completely ignorant about stocks, bonds, insurance policies, and that type of thing. It's beyond reason to think that all of a sudden, when that person is in charge of your estate, that they're all of a sudden going to be smart enough when they're not smart enough before.
Yep, exactly. Very, very true. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about sequence of returns and how that can have a huge impact, positive or negative, on your retirement picture right here on the Keeping Your Money Show.
It's never too late to plan for your future, and the Keeping Your Money Show can help. Our team of advisors can answer questions you may have about investing your money. Through Securities America Inc., our advisors offer a diversified and comprehensive list of quality products and services. Call the Keeping Your Money Show at 1-888-98-MONEY or visit keepingyourmoney.com to schedule your free consultation.